Brigadier General Mark Timmitt, the former military spokesman for the U.S. in Iraq. He's held key posts at the State Department and the Pentagon. Gentlemen, thanks very much for coming in. In fairness to Turkey, should Turkey be the only NATO ally? There are 28 NATO allies that are being pressured to send ground troops, boots on the ground, into Syria or Iraq for that matter?
Well, look, Turkey is the one that's in the most immediate threat, has the most concern about the ISIL threat there, so they've got to take some responsibility. They're clearly negotiating for a better deal than they're being offered right now by General Allen, and I think they're going to push hard to get more support before they take any action.
NATO was unified in dealing with Afghanistan. There was a NATO presence there. Why can't NATO get its act together and deal with ISIS?
Well, I think they eventually will, but you're talking about a near-term problem in KOBANI, which we're trying to solve right now, and it's probably too much to ask for NATO to come to a 28-country agreement on this in the near term.
You heard that, Jim Sciutto report that the U.S. and others, Arab allies, they got together to save the Yazidis in Iraq, but it looks like a lot of these Kurds, Christians in KOBANI, that they could be slaughtered right now.
I think that's what we might see, but I think what we got to understand as well is we're way behind the curve here. We got a freight train that started months, years ago. We've been bombing for a month. We're expecting results, I think, too quickly. I suspect the bombings are having more impact than we know. My experience of watching insurgents, terrorists respond to these is they hate to see this threat from the air, but we're behind the 8 ball and we're trying to get ahead of it, and that's going to take months or years.
The Kurdish fighters are fierce, but they only have, what, guns? They got some rifles. They got very little equipment right now. The Free Syrian Army, they don't seem to be able to do much to protect these people in KOBANI either. So there really isn't much hope in the face of this ISIS onslaught.
If you're looking for hope today or tomorrow, I say step back, strap your seat on. We're going to be at this for a long time. If you're looking for hope 6, 12, 24 months down the road, I'd have more optimism.
How important is KOBANI?
Well, militarily, it's not very important, but strategically, it is significant. If KOBANI falls, with the entire world watching, this is going to be a significant strategic victory for ISIL, and it's going to be a tremendous recruiting tool for ISIL as well.
And especially if they go in there, correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, they go in there and they start videotaping the slaughter of a whole bunch of Kurds or Christians or Arabs, for that matter. From their perspective, they think that helps them get recruits.
Look, if you're a terrorist, the success they had a few weeks ago, I know this is tragic, as videos that showed beheadings. If you're an insurgent who wants to hold territory and eventually run a government, the success you have in a video is we're taking territory, we're the players you want to join. I think this is, as Mark said, I think it's a tremendous sort of success in terms of image. I don't think over the course of time it's a strategic success in terms of territory.
But they have a huge amount of territory right now, ISIS, through Syria and well into Iraq. You spent a lot of time in Iraq. We used to talk when you were in Baghdad all the time. Can you believe that ISIS controls Mosul, for example? Looks like they're on the verge of potentially taking Fallujah, some of these other places. These are huge, huge, important areas where so much American blood and treasure was spent.
No, that's exactly right. But I also agree with Phil when he said we've got to take a longer-term view of this. Those towns are not going to be retaken in 6 months, possibly not even 12 months. The Iraqi security forces need to get their feet back underneath them, need to go on a counteroffensive, and it's going to take time and it's going to take patience.
So realistically, the mission is to degrade ISIS. This notion of defeating ISIS or destroying ISIS, at least in the next few years, is unrealistic.
Look, I don't understand the debate in America today. We have blunted threats in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, and in most of those cases, we do not have boots on the ground, but we've used partners, for example, we've used drones, we've used intelligence assets to damage an adversary. In this case, we're stepping back somehow and saying defeat of the adversary is our measure of success. I don't get it. Victory to me is using partners to blunt the adversary. We don't have to kill every single one of them.
The U.S. military has been involved in trying to destroy Al-Qaeda for 13 years. It's been degraded, at least in parts of the Middle East and South Asia, but it certainly hasn't been destroyed. And that's been a 13-year war that's been going on.
Well, it's going to be longer than that. We talked about this at CENTCOM as the long war against Islamic extremism. If we think there's not a connection between Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and ISIL, we're fooling ourselves. This is a long, continuous book. It's another chapter, but it's only another chapter. We've got a long way to go before this is over.
General Timmitt, thanks very much for coming in. Philip, thanks.